really feels bad to do this.
What's up guys, Manny from Motomillion, and it's time to do a walk around. We got Michael Knight's beautiful 2020 K67 S1000RR here guys. As you can see, it's far from stock. I brought this bike out here to do a walk around so that BMW can redeem itself. If you watched our M1000RR first impressions video of our first ride video, that wasn't the best first impressions that we could get from a bike. So guys, can't make this stuff up. The bike has 9 miles. And I was supposed to be doing a first ride to get acquainted with the BMW. And as you see, I pulled over somewhere safe right now, but look at this, serious fault in engine control. And I think this is the perfect example of what an S1000RR / an M1000RR could be, and that's why we have it here. So let's start off right over here. We have our M1000RR winglets, and these are the 2021 to 2022 M1000RR winglets. It's just beautiful. These are the exact replica of the M1000RR winglets, guys. There's some out there that looks a little wonky, a little bit different. These are the exact original copies, and it keeps the same profile for your aero benefits if that's what you're after. But on this bike, I think it's being ridden on the street. The looks are just perfect. And right behind it, we have our Roundel LED lights. And when we come down right over here, we have our T-Drive rotors. Our favorite rotors to run on these bikes. Trust me, it makes a difference on how that pad bites onto these rotors because the composition of the steel that's used on the rotor. And right back over here, we have our GP4 RX caliper. We've dressed it up with some red caliper spacers. You guys are gonna say the caliper space is on the wrong side. No, it's not. We just added it just for the red look on it. The BMWs don't use a caliper spacer here. We just use our longer prototype bolts. We just wanted to make it look good. And I think it looks great. I don't know about you, but we also have our blue stall bus bleeder valves. And this bike comes with the stock factory carbon wheels, and the shape of them is great. Unfortunately, it's really hard to tell that they're carbon even under the sun, but BMW has already changed that. On the newer models you get now, the carbon fiber really shines. And speaking of carbon fiber, I think one of the greatest aesthetic, and I think also a functional upgrade on this bike, is air intake nose piece that's right over here. It usually is plastic, and that's the theme on the bike, guys. Everything plastic other than the painted panels are gone, and everything that was black plastic is now carbon. But this air intake nose piece is completely open, and if you look through it, we have our intake tunnel here that used to be plastic as well, that's carbon. And I don't know if you can see, but if you peek inside, the IAT relocation kit from Brent Tuning is there. This bike is running the Brent Tuning Stage 2 flash, and let's talk about that flash real quickly. This bike did 208 rear wheel horsepower, guys. 208.35, even though today is a warmer and more humid day. Rear wheel and real wheel, because the dyno we use is extremely consistent. We've showed it over and over again. I'm not going to go into details. If you want to watch that video, we explain it why the consistency is there and why we really think that those numbers are not fudged, they're correct numbers. But right up over here, we have our instrument cluster cover by Fullsix. I love this piece on these bikes because it shows through the windshield, and look at it, it's just carbon fiber, and it's the best time to see it is under this beautiful Miami sun. And one common theme that you'll see on this bike are these blue prototype bolts. It's just everywhere. It's just dressed up with the prototype bolts, which suits that motorsport color theme perfectly. And right up here, we have our WRS windscreen. WRS is now the official BMW partner for World Superbike, so they're running them on World Superbike. That says a lot about the quality of these windscreens. And right here, speaking of windscreens and the aero, we have our Rizoma Aero wing mirrors. When you're riding around, just put them down like this. You could use them as mirrors. And whenever you really want the aero or you want the bike to look really good, just swing them down. I think these are one of the nicest recent additions into the motorcycling community that likes to mod their bikes, because I really, really like them. And I've said it again and again, they're extremely functional, at least in my case, where I can't see out of the mirrors. And speaking of carbon fiber, we have our carbon fiber lever guard Right behind it is protecting our beautiful Corsa Corta master cylinder. It looks good, but again, this braking system on this bike, it's a total upgrade, and that was one of the letdowns on the 2020 S1000RRs. There was a lot of controversy. There was stop sales, there's recalls. BMW didn't do it right, but we did it right with this Brembo system. The braking feel is so nice on this bike when you ride it, and you gotta trust me on that because I don't think Michael's gonna let anybody ride this bike. It's very, very precious to him. And right down here, we have our badge holders from Fullsix. These are our carbon. Again, these were all plastic on the bike. And everywhere you look, there's something special. We have our Gillies tooling handlebars, and we have our TWM upper triple on this bike. It really changes it. But remember guys, we like subtlety. We like beautiful things, but we want to be subtle. If someone who doesn't know this bike looks at it, they're not going to come and say, oh my God, you did this, you did that. I bet you half the stuff will go unnoticed on this bike. That's what we like. We don't want it to be shouty, but we want it to be beautiful and we want it to be classy. And right up here, we have our TWM carbon fiber fuel cap. We put these things on every bike we have, either the carbon or the aluminum, depending on what look we're looking for. It's such an added convenience of being able to fill up your fuel cap without taking your ignition off. And in most cases, you don't even have to take your gloves off to fill up your tank with fuel to keep on having fun. And right down here, we have our tank side panels in carbon. It's keeping this beautiful motorsport color theme insert in place. And we have the TWM complete dress up kit with the timing covers and our oil filler cap in blue, and we have the same thing on the other sides. And if you guys follow our channel, you guys saw that we put this beautiful Gale Speed Real Master cylinder on it. We showed you guys how we did it. It's not really plug and play, but we kind of wanted to show you behind the scenes of how we do things sometimes to figure out how it's going to work. And the reason we did this is we got rid of the ugly old P-cup. Yes, I call them a P-cup. The reservoirs, the white reservoirs, they really look like P-cups, and it was right here. And now it's all integrated in this piece. We're running our stallbus bleeder valves in the back master cylinder as well. Right down here, we have our Lightech track system rear sets, and these are pretty much the same as the R series, guys. But if you want less color and want that monotone look, these are great, and you could get the carbon fiber heel guards for it because they usually come with the aluminum ones. I think it really, really matches the bike. The red might have been a little too much on this bike, and I think they do it really, really justice on this bike. And right down here, this beautiful exhaust system. This is probably the most popular exhaust system on the BMWs. Everyone loves these things. When BMW came out with this bike, Akrapovic teased this to us because on the previous generations, we had to put together a kit to have the Shorty muffler on it. But now you can get this as a full exhaust directly from Akrapovic. You don't have to do any modifications. It sounds fantastic and it looks great. Speaking of looks, this Louis Motor seat cover, I think Michael installed this himself and he did such a good job. Look at it. It's I think it fits so perfectly, and this is to show you guys, if you do the proper install on your parts, everything just looks factory OEM stock looking, and fit and finishes right there. And we have more carbon fiber, our carbon fiber upper rear tailpiece and our lower rear tailpieces on this bike. Like I said, there's no black plastic pieces left on the bike. And we have our lightweight rear rotor over here, and right under here we have our matching rear caliper with our TWM underslung kit. This was one of the first things that we developed in part with TWM for this bike, and I think it's, I don't know, if you know what you're looking at, that makes such a big difference. And I think coming from the racing world and seeing stuff like that, it really suits the bike. And right here we have our chain adjusters. They're nice and black and they're subtle. Again, with this bike it was subtlety, but what's not so subtle are our axle sliders by Lightech in front and rear that we're running, and they're blue. Again, the blue, white, red theme continues on the bike. And if you swing around, we have our 520 conversion kit by Superlight on this bike, the EK3D chain, our Pro-Tie sprocket nuts right down here, and he's running the same rear hugger as we put on our M1000RR to DM it because it had M logos on it. We don't like so many M logos, but this is the Alpha Racing short rear hugger. And when we say short, it's the chain guard is short, the hugger is the same length. It looks really, really good because you get to see the wheel and all the sprockets set up a lot more than having it all covered over there. And one big change in the looks of this bike is this Fullsix carbon fiber belly pan. I think it's a must on all of these bikes. We can't wait to figure out a way to get a belly pan on our M1000RR, but I think this is one of the defining pieces on the bike. And looking around here, I see all of our Samco cooling ducts with our line cooler by Performance Technologies. Let me tell you one thing. When we took the 2023 M1000RR for a ride, it was very uncharacteristic of a BMW to be running so hot. But then we remembered that this bike has all of these added cooling pieces to it, and this bike was running consistently 25 Fahrenheit cooler than our M1000RR, which is, imagine, brand new coolant, new radiator, and it goes to show all of these pieces work. And you're asking, how does a hose help with cooling? So these Samco hoses are designed, they're silicone, and they dissipate the heat as the coolant flows through it. And that's why you see it in Formula 1 cars are running silicone hoses, MotoGP bikes are running silicone hoses, and as we realize with the temperature differences, it does really make a difference. And right over here, what else makes a difference is this Alpha Racing quick shifter. The BMWs always have the best quick shifter in the industry, but imagine, this thing makes it feel so much better for what already was a really, really good quick shifter from the factory. We have our carbon fiber electronics cover and our sprocket cover. On our M1000RR, this piece has the M. You could be sure that we're going to switch it around for this Fullsix piece, but these are really cool little added touches. And right over here, we have our Alpha Racing frame sliders. These are not exactly sliders as you expect as big ones, but they're there just in case anything happens, that this saves that frame being on the ground. And it also covers some of this silver over here, but I think looks a lot better than just having it exposed silver there. And coming back up here, talking about protection, we have our BMW Motorrad tank protector. BMW has come out with this in 2020, and that's why I call it classic. It's been 3 years that they have it available. What does this do? It saves from your zippers and your belt buckles from scratching the tank. And back up over here, we have our TWM span adjuster. This basically adjusts the span of your front brake lever. What is a span? It's where this lever sits in relation to your hand grip. And what does this do? It's a very, very track application. So when you're riding, if you're getting brake fade, you could dial out the brake fade by using your span adjuster. As I've said this before, there's a very cool video of Valentino Rossi riding this bike around the track, and you could see him using that span adjuster after some of the hard braking turns, and the next turn that comes up that he has to really adjust it. But also in endurance racing, as your pads start wearing down, you really want to adjust your brake lever, and that's why it's there. And we have our matching clutch lever by TWM on this side, and we have our Rizoma reservoir up front in blue, which again, these are things that we get used to, but I think it really, really makes these bikes look good, especially some small touches like this where we have our Tygon clear tubing. And one thing that we usually never see and we always miss out is our Olin steering damper. It's buried down right in here, and you really got to dig deep and take a look at it. And Michael usually always checks the steering damper on a bike before he rides it. One thing about Michael is, guys, Michael is a very good rider, and he really, really enjoys these bikes on track and on the road. So hats off to him, because this bike does get used, and it's kind of baffling to me because it looks so clean. It just looks like he just finished a bike today. And I know what you guys are gonna ask for next before we say this walk around is over. You want me to turn this baby on and give it a couple revs. It is quite loud, but here we go. Take two, guys. Classic BMW problem on a 2020. We can't find a neutral. And this is GP shift as well. So let's see if we can find neutral now. Michael's screaming from there. The biggest BMW guy I know is like, there's no problem with the neutral. There we go. The bike is warm, guys. It's been ridden for all day. So don't worry about it. We're going to give it some revs. I'm not going to rev his bike too much. We'll let that for Michael. I'm sure there's videos out there that we've posted of his bike revving. Go check out those videos. And if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Until next time, guys, have a good one.
And it feels bad to do this.